Great, awesome. Okay, we're going to start our meeting now. Hello, everyone. This is the SCAC's monthly meeting, and what should we do? Introductions for now? Okay, we'll start with introductions. My name is Megan Stallard. I'm a sophomore at Poolesville High School, and I'm a North Area member and also the chair of the council.
All right, my name is Walter Shaw. I'm a junior at Richard Montgomery High School, and I'm currently the vice chair of the council.
Hi, my name is Cindy Bagari. I am a junior at Clarksburg High School, and I also serve as the head of communications.
Hi, my name is Josie Kim, and I'm a junior at Richard Montgomery High School, and I'm one of the co-chairs for the events committee.
Hi, my name is Gauri. I am a senior at Northwest High School, and I am the outreach director.
Hi, my name is Brendan Iliff. I'm a senior at Rockville High School, and I'm a Northwest area member.
Hi, my name is Timo Taiwo. I'm a senior at Wooten High School, and I am a Southwest Council member as well as the ambassador chair.
Hi, my name is Celestia Krubali. I'm a senior at Rockville High School, and I am an at-large council member.
Hi everyone, my name's Kylan Tao. I'm a senior at Richard Montgomery High School, and I'm an at-large council member.
Okay, so for now, we're going to switch our agenda around a little bit, and we'll start with talking about MCPS partnerships. So Mr. Traubman and Mr. Derby, would you guys like to come and sit at some of our chairs here? And Mr. Rate, of course. Yeah. Sorry. Do you want to start?
Okay, so I guess we can start off by talking about the Twinbrook partnership. So I think it was this week, or maybe last week, but me and a couple of council members went and visited Twinbrook, and we talked to the principal or assistant principal, and she gave us a tour of the school. I think Timo was there, Kim was there, and I was there. Yeah. So the main things that we went over during this, I guess, like tour, we just went and looked at the areas and saw some of the things that we could, be helping with. There was some stuff about murals, weeding, etc.
And for all of our ambassadors here, that's an event at Twinbrook Elementary School on March 31st. It's an off day from school, and you're all welcome to join. I think it's marketed like towards all ages. You're all welcome to go and attend, but also if you're interested in helping us lead some of the stations, that would be great. So just reach out to us about that. What was the next thing we wanted to talk about? MAEOE?
Also, Megan, I think in terms of the mural, they're also looking for a bunch of volunteers who are kind of like good with art, good with painting, to help out with that specifically.
So that's definitely not me. If that's any of you, please let us know. That would be great and really appreciated.
Yeah, and then really quickly about MAEOE. So we did bring this up to the council. Mr. Taylor, Dr. Taylor's here, but I guess I'll just really quickly go over MAEOE. And it kind of turns out that a lot of us actually don't have the availability to go. So unfortunately, I think that for this year, we're going to have to, not attend. But I think in upcoming years or future years, we will definitely be open to going.
And if I could just mention that conference occurred this past weekend. There was a good student presence there, particularly at the college level, but also high school. And they actually have a youth leadership initiative as well. And there's a youth summit, May 29th, I believe, at Sandy Point State Park. And it's where schools who earn their Green School certification get recognized. but there's also a green career fair, different stations learning about different environmental issues, and students presenting as well. So we can talk a little bit more about that too.
Okay, awesome. I think, is that all we had for right now? Okay, do you guys have anything else to add? Any like initiatives that you haven't mentioned to us before?
I just got approached by Department of Environmental Protection. The county recently came out with a new marketing plan for climate change action for the county. It's pretty clever looking. They're looking to launch a student campaign and want to have input in terms of like if there's going to be like developing some sort of prize contest, that sort of stuff. So it'd be a great entry point for you all to have some action that would be impactful and meaningful right away. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that would be amazing. Can you like send us?
Yeah, I can
more
connect
information?
you all.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Is there anything else? Yeah.
I haven't seen the agenda. Is the Youth Climate Summit a separate item on your agenda, or?
No, I don't think so.
Because I know some of the council have been involved in the planning with that.
Yeah. I don't think I went to the last meeting, but I do know that we're meeting sometime this week. I think it's actually tomorrow with YCS. So I'll make sure that I keep, you posted with everything that happens with that.
Yeah, I just want to confirm we're meeting tomorrow at 8 p.m.
Okay, if that's it, I guess we'll move on to our discussion about like current MCPS sustainability issues. So you guys welcome to stay because I know that you all know plenty about this, and we'll invite Dr. Taylor to sit at the table as well.
Sorry. Thanks for making time. How's everybody doing today?
Good. How are you? Great. Okay, so we thank you so much for joining us. First of all, we're really honored and we're glad to have you. So we have a lot of questions because I'll start with the context that we're planning to create a work group for a climate change action plan for the county or for the school system. So we looked through the policy ECA sustainability, and we have a lot of questions based on that, like what's currently going on in sustainability so that we can see what the gap is that we need to bridge with our climate change action plan. So I guess like first, very basically, like would you support a climate change action plan?
Oh my gosh. Well, first let me say how absolutely I'm impressed with your efforts so far. And the fact that this is a relatively young group in terms of your years of existence as an entity, and the fact that you represent so many broad clusters is just awe-inspiring. We're reliant on you, to be completely candid, and I wholly endorse this idea of you initiating a climate plan and a series of recommendations, because innovations that you come up with and that you conceive are really not just an opportunity for us to improve and to be better stewards of the planet that we all share, but also ways for us to be better as an organization and more efficient. We do have exciting things going on. We have our first net zero school in the queue, which I hope will be the footprint for what we can do moving forward for all of our schools. It's really exciting work. So the idea behind establishing a plan that has a series of recommendations, I think we're all excited to see what that might look like. And I think that we're committed to working through some of the troubleshooting and feasibility of what is practical on a short-term basis, what's practical on a mid-term basis, and what's practical on a long-term basis. I do want to give a shout out to Quinley, because I'm assuming Quinley is online, yes? Wrote me a very nice letter, making sure that I knew that there were some financing needs for this group. And I will say that it wasn't awesome that I got this the day after the budget was adopted, but we'll see what we can do to move forward with some of the requests that Quinley came up with, because I see the work that you're doing, the grants that you're offering, and the efforts to have student-led engagement on this front is really just awe-inspiring. So to bring a very long answer to a short conclusion, the answer is yes, we're very excited to see what you come up with.
Okay, thank you so much. I guess we can just start asking questions then. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to ask all of the questions, but I can go ahead and start. So what is
Can you guys do me a favor? Can we
Yes.
I'm sorry if I missed this. Can you guys do quick names and schools real quick for me?
Of course, no
I know
problem.
some of you, but I don't know everybody.
My name is Megan Stallard. I'm a sophomore at Poolsville High School.
My name is Walter Shaw. I'm a junior at Richard Montgomery High School.
Yes.
My name is Cindy. I'm a junior at Clarksburg High School.
My name is Josie, and I'm a junior at Richard Montgomery.
My name is Mohammed, and I'm a junior at Poolsville High School.
I'm Elizabeth, and I'm a senior at Whitman.
My name is Gauri. I'm a senior at Northwest High School.
Awesome.
My name is Brendan, and I'm a senior at Rockville High School.
My name is Timo, and I'm a senior at Wooten High School.
My name is Celestia, and I'm a senior at Rockville High School.
My name's Kylan, and I'm a senior at Richard Montgomery High School.
Awesome.
Okay. So the first question we have, what is MCPS's plan for incorporating sustainability topics in classes beyond traditional science classes? And as this progresses, will students have more opportunities to pursue climate-related career paths as outlined in the ECA document? Any of you are welcome to respond.
I'd say jump right in, but I'm not aware of any immediate global plans to infuse sustainability at beyond the 30,000-foot view level, but maybe you have some specific examples. But I actually think that this is an opportunity, and I hope that this is something that appears as a recommendation as part of your climate action plan, actually. I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, there are no specific plans at this point. What is happening, what we're trying to get through first is kind of an audit of what exists already, from the very, very basics, learning what weather is and then what climate is, and all the way up to some of the things that we're discussed here more often. The career paths, there are some very exciting possibilities there. We are aware of the need for more development for green careers beyond what exists now, and we are in the beginning stages of some exciting partnerships that look like could bring about some of that change or the additions.
I'll just say I think one of the best places we are right now, it's, as Dr. Thomas said, we're in an exciting place because there is so much opportunity, and there's been a lot of innovation happening nationally at this. And so as we have these conversations, I think there's a lot of entities that want to partner with MCPS. And as this work develops, they certainly want to work with the students, and being as big as MCPS is makes it a really very unique opportunity to be able to do that, and with your student group to be able to lead the charge on that.
Lee, can you talk a little bit about the program at Whitman?
So I think there are two things you might be talking about. So I don't know if y'all are aware about, one is the Leadership Academy for Social Justice at Whitman High School, which I believe, I may not have this exactly correct, but I believe at this point it's limited to Whitman students, but they're working to expand it. They already expanded, okay. So this year, okay. Thank you. So it's available to any high school student. And it's a series of different courses. As part of that, they have an environmental justice course, which really, really looks at the disproportionate effects of climate change and some other environmental factors on different groups of people in different areas and different demographics. They're just like you all, amazing group of young kids doing amazing things. I had the opportunity to attend a presentation they did to leaders in environmental literacy from across the state of Maryland, and just was awestruck by what the learning they had done, the actions they had taken, both in the class and inspired by the class. So that's a great program. I don't know if there's any interest here, but that. And then there's also a global climate change elective that is currently being piloted at Northwood, and we hope to expand that as well.
That's the outdoor classrooms too, right?
Yeah.
So as you know, we've shared this before. Previously, we're starting to plan different outdoor classrooms across the county. So they'll be spread pretty equally across north, south, west, east. So we're building we have funding for 8 infrastructure for 8 outdoor classrooms. As part of that is professional development to integrate lessons for climate related, stormwater related. And so that's been, I think that has the biggest momentum behind it right now. Also the work happening at Loiterman is one example of that. So we have those as templates to begin, and we visited other districts in the area that are working on that. So that's another, I think, a low-hanging fruit right now.
Just to add to that, I want everybody to remember that you don't have to be like an environmental engineer to get a green career. There are many job openings that will be in the future in the trades. Electric car maintenance, HVAC technicians with these high-performing systems, and electricians to repair the electric car chargers. So you don't have to really be a science kind of geek person. There are jobs in every single sector that we want to think about. And just, once in a while, we've had student interns. I know you've also had student interns. We have some Arise students. So we try to offer opportunities through our offices as much as we can for internships too. And, help figure that out. If there's external bodies that we can partner with, like we said, we're trying to really increase those opportunities for students.
And I like that point because that diversity of interest related to climate change or environmental issues, I think is represented here. I mean, we have people who are hard into the science, and then we have those who are really on the policy side or the advocacy, and perhaps pursue environmental law. So yeah, as one of our partners in DP says, every career can be a green career. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I guess we can go around in a circle and ask the rest of the questions. Is that okay?
So our next question is it possible for MCPS to implement these ideas into school programs like the Student Government Association and other various clubs so that this initiative has a more widespread impact?
Yeah, and we'll try to be more concise with answering questions too so that we can actually get through them. I think the answer is yes, and I think that you're in more of the driver's seat for this than any adult. So I want you all to feel empowered to be the ones that lead that change and that drive that agenda more than anything else. As some of you I already know have some shared roles in MCR, that this is an opportunity for you to bring that to light and to make that a central piece of the leadership in different organizations.
And I'll just add one thing about the Youth Climate Institute, that's a great way to do that. Just as we saw it start in Howard County as one district-wide chapter like we had this year, open to any school, we would love to see it become institutionalized at every high school, that every individual school has their own chapter. We would, they equate it to a National Honor Society for climate change. So that is something, again, that you can help a lot with, identifying those teachers at your schools that are passionate about it, and maybe we can help with some funding perhaps for the chapter fees, but that's a great way to go.
Okay, really quickly, so regarding the first question that we asked, just about how MCPS can incorporate sustainability beyond traditional science classes, Ms. Harris actually brought up a great point. So I think you guys also brought up some stuff about the career pathways, but we are seeing some of the environmental career pathways in MCPS being at risk of just like shutting down because of low enrollment, such as the CASE program at Northwood High School. And this is just like one of the very few programs that MCPS actually holds to, give students the chance to learn about 21st century environmental jobs, and it never really received the support that it needs to thrive. So how do you guys think that MCPS can address this issue?
Man, what a great question. I think a lot of it has to do with student interest, and I actually think that there is not an adult group that can solve that issue, that it needs to be some of the adults in the building in addition to this organization, as well as student groups that are passionate about seeing something come to fruition. I think we're at a really interesting turning point right now for the district. And actually, I think the program at Northwood is thriving. There's another CASE program at another school that I think is having some enrollment challenges. But that being said, the program isn't moving from even the school that won't have enrollment for the following year. And it's almost like it's a placeholder there. We really probably need to think about program access in general to all of our programs, not just one program here or one program there, but look at how we might create and diversify a portfolio of programs across the county so that students have better access to them and that there's better access points where there's interest. And how we problem solve some of the logistics. That's really the adult space of like, how do we fulfill your dreams of pursuing the pathway that interests you the most? And it's really incumbent on us to come up with ways to remove some of those barriers so that your interests and your ability to access those programs are that part's aligned and we can fulfill that. So that's really our space, is how do we remove some of those barriers. We're in the process right now of trying to do a pretty comprehensive evaluation of all programs in MCPS, particularly secondary programs. The reason for this is there's a very, very large boundary study that's taking place in terms of high schools, because we are getting ready to open 2 high schools in the fall of 2027. Well, with that, I'm going to tell you it's going to be very, very disruptive to students who are in middle school right now, because their middle school pathway that they think that they're going to a certain high school may change as a result of how these attendance zones and these boundaries are established. Well, this is also the perfect opportunity for us to look at what programs are offered in each school as well. So we don't want to miss the opportunity of looking at the boundaries and looking at how our programs are aligned at the same time, so that by the fall of 2027, there's a great offering of programs that students have access to, and we get the attendance zones fleshed out a little bit better than what we have right now. If you are currently aware of or near Blair or Walter Johnson, you've got 3,000 students at your school in a school built for 2,000 students. That's pretty alarming. Well, we don't want to end programs at those schools because they're thriving and things are going well, but we do need to balance out some of that population with two new schools being offered. So it's like, what programs do we want to offer at those schools, in addition to what programs are at existing schools that we can change or adjust to better meet student interests? So it's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to have a solution until really the fall of 2027. So decisions that you help make and that you help guide are really going to have an impact for younger siblings and a younger generation of students. But it is your input and your direction and the things that are important to you that will help point us in that right direction.
Under the desired outcomes, the ECA states that students and staff should know of the environmental impacts of decisions at all levels, which isn't the case right now, especially considering that emissions data isn't widely available. How is MCPS planning to change this?
I think we're all ears. I think we would love for things like emissions data and other data to be a little bit more readily accessible. I think we're open to suggestions on how to make this useful and not just a big data dump and a big spreadsheet that nobody ever visits or nobody ever looks at. And in terms of, how does that translate into tangible actions? I think that there's maybe some concern about us providing information and not making it actionable as to what do we do with that information? I don't know. Do you guys have any other ideas?
So I met with the policy group before this meeting, and I showed Megan where we had a board presentation where we did talk about the emissions data that's rolled up on a system-wide basis. The other thing that we are doing at this very moment is continuing a transition of our utility bill payment system. MCPS receives actually over 1,000 bills every month. And if you think about your parents, they get a water bill, they get an electric bill, maybe a cable bill, and you got to pay those on time, right? Or you get fees. Same thing for MCPS. So we've been in a very detailed, long conversation with the vendor to make sure we get this right, because getting those bills paid on time is number one. But number two, as part of the system, is a better interface to be able to share that information with everyone. It's going to take us some time, but we are working on it, and I've seen some preliminary views of it. And in terms of the actionability of it, there's two factors to consumption, right? Do we have a facility that's optimized and performing at its best condition? Sometimes that takes money and repairs and infrastructure improvements. That's one piece. The other piece is I can build you guys the best net zero school on the planet, but if you leave the windows open and the doors open and things like that to waste energy, that's not going to work. So we've got to have that behavior component also. So there's two components, but having that data for you, then you can see how you are. So our goal eventually is, once we get all the computers talking to each other and everything in a graphic interface that does make sense to you, we'll group schools that are like together. So we wouldn't compare a high school and an elementary school because that doesn't make sense, right? But schools that have like construction, like similarities, and then you can be within your peer group and say, okay, here's the 10 that are this style of school. How are we performing compared to our benchmark people, and what can we do to make improvements? It might be to be reporting a faucet that's dripping, right? Maybe sometimes a student sees it every day but doesn't remember to report it to an adult. There's lots of different approaches that we have to take to this, and again, it's that same concept that everybody has to be involved with it. It's not just one person's job.
Okay, really quickly, I have a follow-up. You were talking about different interfaces or the possibility of data on emissions, we need a way for it to be shared with the public that's really easy to understand, right? So Lynn, I remember you told me about a student that had created an interface exactly like that, and it's open, it's online, and it's blank. Is that true? Right?
Yeah, we had a student that graduated from Wooten last year, Rishi Iyer, who created a database specific to MCPS, where he worked with people in our facilities team, sustainability, John Meyer and others, to get emissions and other utilization data for all schools, to plot the carbon footprint of each school and then identify common sense ways that schools could target strategies to reduce their carbon footprint. And it's out there, and I'm not even remembering, he presented at the fiscal management committee, he met with people inside facilities, and his goal was to have his web tool that he created regularly used in MCPS to help us monitor emissions and our, basically everything that goes into our carbon footprint for each school. And then now that we have climate, what am I blanking on? Every school now, not only do they have their school improvement plan, but they also have to have a sustainability plan, that it would serve as a tool to help them. And I have to tell you honestly that I think eventually he just got frustrated that that work didn't seem to be going forward. Although he did work with some other school systems in other states and adapted the tool that he created specific to us to their needs. And he's off at Georgia Tech. He'll have a PhD in it, probably another year and a half, and we won't be able to afford him. But he did create it, and it is still out there in use in other systems, but yeah.
Okay, so we already have a tool like that. Hopefully, MCPS can start like integrating that, maybe add it to its homepage, like a button to go look at the emissions data, and then obviously the data itself needs to be updated for that to be an effective solution. But that's my main suggestion in terms of like data transparency. Okay, we can keep going around the circle.
The county will need to reach 100% electrification of its non-bus fleet by 2027 and meet its zero greenhouse gas emission target by What is MCPS doing to achieve that goal as there are no visible changes made after COVID?
I don't know if there's no visible changes after COVID. We currently right now are growing our fleet and replacing vehicles where we can that are zero emission or electric where we can. I think one of the challenges that we have right now is that the electric bus opportunity doesn't really meet all of our needs at the exact moment. So we're struggling through that piece. And we're actually trying to downsize our other vehicle expenditures right now. So at the exact moment, we're not buying vehicles, so it's hard for us, or even leasing vehicles, for us to expand a fleet that it's not financially viable for us to make that switch. So when we do, I think that the best way for us to look at this moving forward is that when we replace vehicles, that we are replacing them in a way that has a sustainability goal in mind. But realistically, a time horizon of between now and 2027, I don't know when that goal was put into place or what the efforts or building blocks were that were in place when that goal was put in place. But you're really looking at a 10 to 12 year time horizon before all the vehicles in the system go through their natural life cycle. When you drive a car, you typically are driving a car for upwards of 200,000 miles. School system vehicles typically go 300,000 miles. So they go a lot further and they get beat up a lot more, but they also get serviced a lot more regularly than other vehicles typically do. So they last a little bit longer. Right now, I would say that we actually have a surplus of vehicles that are non-bus fleet. And so until we get that fleet down to like the right size that we should, then we should start replacing them with vehicles that match our sustainability goals. But it doesn't really make sense for us to completely switch over yet, and also to make sure that we have the infrastructure to support it, which I think the good news is that you've got a community that's really committed to these goals and wants to see them be successful. But I would stretch it to make sure that you have a realistic time horizon and that you're doing things in a time frame that actually does make sense and doesn't throw away money.
Yeah. So going back to the buses again, I mean, I know that this is kind of like a very complex issue. There's like been stuff with supply chain, et cetera.
It's not really complex. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What's your question? But it's not complex.
So I guess like my question is that I know that there was like some sorts of issues with the electric buses regarding supply chain, and not too long ago I actually discussed this with I think it was like the annual student whatever meetup thing, and I remember I actually asked one of the board members about this, and they were talking about how with the supply chain, like there's not really a way to back out of the contract, because I mean the only thing that really you guys can get is compensation. So do you know if there's like any other way, I guess, just to like better the process of the electric buses and the status quo?
Yeah, this has tremendous promise. It really does, and you can definitely envision a future where electric buses are really the norm, not the exception. I think that you can envision that in a near enough future, in a near enough time horizon, where this will definitely happen in your early adulthood for sure. Where we are right now and what you're talking about with supply chain issues after the pandemic is it wasn't just electric buses that had supply chain issues. Every bus has supply chain issues. Believe it or not, the automobiles that we drive and the buses that we drive are incredibly complex in terms of their electronic infrastructure. And the biggest things that actually caused some of the supply chain issues in getting buses on the road in Montgomery County and everywhere else in the United States was actually microprocessors that went into the onboard computers for many of the buses that you drive. It was the same thing with cars too. So car manufacturers had a lot of the similar kind of delays. Now, where Montgomery County Public Schools gets a little bit of criticism, and I'll be completely candid with you, it's undeserved criticism, is that MCPS paid more to make sure that we were at the front of the line so that there would be buses so that we could transport students. And so by paying a little bit more, ensured that MCPS had enough buses in its fleet to transport students. And rightfully so, that definitely drew some criticism, of course, but at the same time, students got to and from school as a consequence, and that really was the right decision, even though it was in the middle of a lot of drama with supply chains and pandemics and everything else. The pain point that we're experiencing right now is really twofold with electric buses. The technology is not advanced enough from a battery charging mechanism to sustain long enough routes. So where are our electric buses? Well, our electric buses are really on our shortest routes, and they are in spaces where they can be used for a shorter period of time so that they can recharge. It's really an infrastructure challenge, and that's a big hurdle. Montgomery County has 500 square miles. It's a lot. My Poolesville friends, you are not likely to see electric buses anytime soon on the Poolesville roads. Our Damascus friends are not likely to see electric buses on some of our longer bus routes. So if you're accustomed to a longer bus route, it's probably going to be a while. And the reason is because the charging technology is not where it needs to be for it to work for us perfectly. The other big pain point for us is in how our buses for students with disabilities are constructed. They are actually creating buses that have the chairlift and have some of the other technology. The problem with that is that the chairlifts take up an actual lot of physical space on the bus, which means it crowds out space for the mechanical workings of an electronic bus. So the infrastructure that you would have for battery on an electric bus is diminished because you have to make room for other electronic functions that have a chairlift and some of the other features that our students with disability buses have. So again, the good news and the bad news is still the same, unfortunately, which is that the technology really does need to catch up for this to be a tool that we can do like our whole fleet widespread. The good news is that the technology is rapidly improving. The bad news is that it's not rapidly improving enough. But I think you've got a community that we're all in on this. We want to see the technology improve. We're developing the infrastructure so that we can support it. But at the moment, we're kind of at the place where the mix of our buses is about where we need it to be to make it useful. And hopefully moving forward, the technology will advance in a way that we can really leverage this a lot better and get up to 1,000 buses, which is really where we'd need to be. And we're a little over 200 right now, but we have the largest bus fleet in America, literally the largest EV bus fleet in America. So very proud of that. We don't have any interest in losing the title. We want to remain champions of the EV bus space. But, you know, we also are trying to balance that practical with our values and our goals. It's a great question.
Thank you so much. We have a question that is more pinpointed towards us as SCAC. So how can we as the SCAC work with you to support MCPS climate goals and initiatives beyond creating the CCAP? We're talking about like initiatives at the present. We also have some of our ambassadors here who are willing to help as well.
God, what a great answer. Okay, I've got lots of different answers to this. The first one, in addition to creating the plan, is within your plan, identify things that are options where students can be active in either monitoring, fulfillment of a plan recommendation, where there can be leadership opportunities for the council to really step forward and actually manage it directly. And I would say make sure you're very intentional about saying, we want to do this, and we want to be the people that are leading this particular initiative or this particular project. I think that that's a tremendous opportunity. And it also sends a message to us that we don't have to counterbalance with some capacity in the organization somewhere else, that if this is something that the council is passionate about and the council can manage, that you can just take it and run with it. I think that that is tremendously helpful. And I actually think that it presents an opportunity for us to work shoulder to shoulder, where we're doing the work together. And I think that that actually is really rewarding for the adults in the room when we get to see you guys shine and see you in that leadership role, and we're guiding more of the things that you're doing versus like, you know, doing it for you or doing it, you know, around you. We want to do it with you because you do have a lot of expertise and a lot of value that we want to elevate. And so I think that really would be a huge help for us. I think also identifying opportunities that could become longer-term sustainable things like internships and apprenticeships that we can fold into other things that we're doing in the district. I think identifying specific recommendations where we could really amplify and grow it into something else would be a huge help. Those are the things that come to the top of my mind right now. But again, I'd love to react to the plan recommendations that you come up with, and really just spend some time brainstorming together on how we really accomplish some of these goals. I think being crystal clear about what goals we want to accomplish, and then us working together on how we get to accomplish those goals is really what excites me and really makes me thrilled that you all are here. So.
If I could just add, the other piece I would recommend is the whole communications part. Just like you all have done with some other initiatives, you know that your peers across the school system are going to listen to you better than they will to us many times, and that you know, student-to-student communication is so important. So once the plan is developed and moving into implementation, really coming up with a robust plan to use the council and our ambassadors to get the word out to everyone.
Thank you. I know we're really excited to be working on the climate goals and especially the CCAP. We were also wondering, what role can we play in raising awareness about MCPS sustainability policy and initiatives in our schools, like kind of on the other side? I know we were on a Zoom where we learned about green school certification and things like that, but we were also wondering about like amplifying current sustainability policies.
I think your ideas are going to be way better than ours, honestly, and I think that speaks to the point of the student-to-student contact is going to be way better than anything that we can come up with. I think our role is really to amplify your voice in terms of committing resources. You know, you want to put a poster up? Great. Don't put one poster up. Share with us some design concepts. We can replicate it and put 1,000 posters up. And I think that this is where your ideas can meet at the intersection of resources that we can support. So for whatever it's worth, I think you are going to need to be in the driver's seat on what that looks like, and we're here to provide the support in terms of what you need to get that out.
So moving back to the budget about that for the SCAC that we talked about in the beginning, do you have any feedback from the budget that we sent you and the MCPS board members?
Yes. Get it to me earlier.
So Quinley mentioned, I'm sorry, Quinley mentioned to me that we had it delivered on the 31st, I guess that would have been the 31st of December, and the budget was supposed to be adopted on the 4th.
It's dated the 31st of January, and I received it on February 5th. The budget was adopted on February 4th.
Okay. So I guess.
Okay, I'm gonna work with you. I'm gonna figure it out.
Okay. Besides that, like specifically the items in the budget, did you have any
Yeah, I
feedback
thought that was great. I think you had a good plan.
Okay.
I think you have a great mix of like trying to spend your money wisely and what makes the most sense. I loved the grant application rubric. I enjoyed reading through that. I thought that was really outstanding. And the part that I find to be the most engaging is, I think, the thing that hopefully you will find to be the most rewarding are all the ideas that you haven't thought of, but that other people thought of that you get to empower. And that to me, I think, is where it's all the stuff that we haven't come up with that other people will come up with and apply for grants to get supported. That is really what's going to make this awesome. So.
And if I could just say, speaking of grants, I don't know if you're aware, but you know the MCPS budget is supplemented by many, many grants in all different areas, curriculum, facilities, whatnot. So if it didn't make it into this year's MCPS budget, don't give up that you won't have that money. There are other sources of money out there, so we can work on that.
Thank you for the challenge and making sure that I have something to do so that I can figure that out, so that you have your money. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, so the SCAC is also planning a town hall for March 3rd, 6 to 8 p.m. And we were wondering if there was any way you could help advertise or promote that on any MCPS. Oh, okay.
Can you get me the information in details and make sure that I have that as soon as possible? The reason that I would need that is I'll put it in a queue of some things that your families get an email every Thursday that are the things to know. And that's something that we can advertise in the things to know.
Oh yeah, that would be perfect. And we were also wondering if you would be willing to come as like a guest speaker and kind of have a Q&A session with anybody who comes to the town hall.
We'll make it happen.
Perfect. I can also email you like the details fully, like either today or tomorrow.
The more information, the earlier, the better.
All right, perfect. Thank
Whatever
you.
got. No, delighted. Thank you.
I just have a few questions, kind of communications related. So,
Limited to one. I'm kidding.
Since you are able to work with us to boost some knowledge of the council and our future grants that we would provide to you through social media, what would be something that would really resonate with the student body as a whole and make them feel inspired? Because communication is very social media based and it's been kind of stagnant for us. So do you have any strategies to help engage the student body more?
I've got like one cool snow video a year that I can put together, and then it like diminishing returns. They get less good after that. No, the reality is the same, and it's my answer to to other questions, which is that you're going to know what's going to inspire you way better than anything that we can come up with. And to the extent that you have an idea that you want to see elevated, that really gives us an opportunity to react to it. And I mean, we're in it for you. I mean, we show up for you. Like we do this for you. We all got into education, into sustainability, into public schools because we want you to shine. So we're way more interested in your ideas than anything that we could come up with, because candidly, we're just not going to do as good of a job at it as you are.
Okay, I think we have a few more possible questions, but since we're running low on time, I'll just ask one more question for now. So recently we learned that in the proposed budget, the MCPS Division of Sustainability and Compliance has been reorganized under the maintenance section of the budget, and we just want to make sure that this doesn't mean there will be any like diminished funding or prioritization of that committee or division, because we know, as you know, that it's very important.
No, quite the opposite. We actually need to make sure that sustainability is a part of everything that we do. This is maybe one of the bigger challenges that we've faced in MCPS with a lot of things, and it's not just sustainability, and it's not just equity or not just literacy or any one-off thing. Is that we have a propensity in MCPS to separate that thing, put it in one space, and then almost like forget about it, right? And it's a small group of people who are discreetly working on one particular thing. And what the challenge that we continually rub up against is that small group of people who are discreetly operating in one corner of the organization doing one thing. They sometimes step on the toes of other people who are doing the exact same thing on something completely different. And they're working at cross purposes. And so in a perfect world, sustainability is not just with maintenance, it's also in curriculum. It's also in our instructional space. And that work is more widely spread and more about who we are as an organization than any 1, 2, 3, or 4 projects that get done in a year. The same being said is that, and I want you to know this too, you are doing tremendous work in terms of improving equity in the community, because sustainability work is equity work. Well, right now as an organization, we view those things as very, very separate. And the reality is that they're not. That improving sustainability across the district, improving sustainability in our schools, whether it's environmental sustainability or other things, this is the work of equity. This is how we create equitable access to learning environments and learning opportunities. It's really at the heart of the things that we believe as a community and who we espouse that we are, but we have to back it up with the actions of our organization too. We can't just say these things, we actually have to do these things too.
All right, yeah. So it seems like our time is kind of up. We actually went 3 minutes over.
That's
so
okay. This is the most important
yeah.
part of the meeting.
But
It can go
yeah,
as long as it needs to.
I think we're gonna transition into our recess. But one last thing before we go. How is tomorrow looking? Are we looking at a code yellow, code red?
All right, so let's break down tomorrow. And I'm gonna give you snow closures in a nutshell. And I do not have a video to showcase tomorrow's issues. Now, I sent an email home to families that detailed a lot of this, but we are expecting snow. It is likely going to be a very wet snow. It's going to start around the 1 o'clock time frame. You ask the question and you bounce? What's up with that?
He has to go get the pizza. Yeah.
All right, well, that's one way to do it. So here's the thing. You are going to have a wet commute going home, not a snow commute going home. We are likely to get in a full day of school tomorrow. Doesn't mean that that's guaranteed. We may have to call an early dismissal tomorrow, but I'm going to tell you it's unlikely, and here's why. two factors, maybe three factors. The first factor is we are looking at a wet snow. The ground temperatures will not go below freezing until late afternoon, early evening. So 6 p.m.-ish is when ground temperatures will get below freezing. So that means when the snow is coming down, it will stick on the grass, maybe some of the sidewalks, but not on the roads. So you're going to have a really slushy kind of afternoon. But then it will get cold, and the air temperatures will get below freezing around 6 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, and the ground temperatures will get below freezing, and then it will start to stick on the roads. Wednesday's looking a little rough, guys. You might get a day off out of this one on Wednesday, but Tuesday's looking like a full day of school if I had to guess. It's early, but that's what I'm seeing in the crystal ball right now. Make sense?
Yes. All right. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to go into recess now. I'm going to ask you before you leave if you would like to go over and talk to our ambassadors. I'm sure they have plenty of questions for you. These are our climate ambassadors for the Student Climate Action Council. They're from across the county as well, elementary through high school.
The SMOB, Pernille Savarno, has agreed to answer all of my questions.
Oh, I don't think he agreed to that.
He did.
I see.
He did.
Okay, awesome then. And thank you so much. And everyone is welcome to pizza. So now that we've finished that amazing discussion, we're going to move on. We have a few other items. First, we're going to talk about progress with our standing committees, and then we're going to discuss our goals for next year. As a council, we're going to hopefully vote on some initiatives that we have, just so that the planning for next year's council can start early and go very smoothly with our input as well. Okay, we'll start with standing committee goals and updates, starting with policy. Now, since Nikita, our policy chair, isn't here, is she? She's not on the Zoom, so I can go ahead and take policy. So obviously, the meeting that we had today was a huge step of progress in our climate change action plan timeline. We have strong support from Dr. Taylor, so that's great. I think we're planning to have a meeting sometime this week to continue to work on our work group. I think Zoe was planning that. Yeah, so we're going to create a work group so that we can start drafting or start discussing and drafting the sections of our climate change action plan. But obviously, it's great that we have that first step of support from Dr. Taylor. I think that's mostly it for right now. I think Advocacy Day is a little bit on hold, but we can ask Nikita to continue to work on that. And I know that's something that we're going to work towards in, I think, April or so. So let's move on next to comms.
Comms is a very brief but very exciting update. We have our webpage updated, guys. We are on there. Our headshots are on there. The climate action plan, the artificial turfs report is on there. All of our old videos are the same, but our pictures, our bios, everything like that is updated. I just need Gowrie to send just any picture. They just need a picture, and Addison as well. I hope she's listening on that Zoom. But that will be the end of the webpage. And I will text Meghna and I will ask her how the website is going. If she's not able to get to it, I think I can take over. Comms is not really doing anything big. And then during the work session with the ambassadors, we worked on a graphic, and that graphic will be done by the end of this week, I swear.
Wait, I just wanted to add, I'm getting the official headshot done. Is that okay, or do you just want the cell
No, that'd be great. When are you getting it done?
I have no idea. I need to get a response, but
Okay.
I will get back to you. And
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
And you emailed Mr. Gross, correct? Okay, perfect. Just get it done as soon as
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can. Great, thank you.
Outreach, yeah.
Okay, yeah, for outreach, not even school visits, there's still some principals and people that we've tried to contact that still haven't responded. I know on my end, last meeting we talked about trying to get the SGA Instagram, maybe send them a DM maybe. I don't know if everyone tried that, but I tried that and I still didn't get some responses. So I wanted to open the floor and ask again, is there any other alternate option to get a connection in all of our schools?
For outreach specifically, I know that we haven't gotten responses back from all our schools, but I have a list of schools who are willing to work with SCAC members as of current to get their green school application done, which is due in early March. So if we have council members or ambassadors interested in aiding in that process, please let me know or reach out to me or Mr. Trobman so that we can go ahead with that process.
Okay, if no one has any ideas, I guess I can move on with the environmental task force. So I'm in charge of that, and we're definitely thinking of doing it sometime in the spring when it's exam season, because the MCR task force didn't really have a plan for May, April, May, that kind of time period. So we were planning on doing a workshop or something in collaboration with SCAC, but that is not set to stone yet. But yeah, that is definitely a time frame that we are looking into. And yeah, that is all the updates for the outreach so far. And we're working with the ambassadors as well. We're emailing each of the organizations in Montgomery County that is sustainability focused, and each of them were assigned an organization to email and be the point of contact. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Moving on to events.
Yeah, so right now we're planning our town hall, and we just sent out an MCPS Canvas announcement, and we had great response. There's 266, with 235 planning to attend virtually and 31 planning to attend in person. So overall, it's a really great response for what we have planned, and it'd be great if everyone could make it. It's on March 3rd from 6 to 8 p.m. here at the Carver Auditorium, I believe. And we actually have the room reserved. We contacted the MCPS TV people, and I don't remember if they replied back to us, but they should have by now. I'll have to check my email, but we are broadcasting it virtually. So for any ambassadors here, if you aren't able to attend in person, it'll be available in virtually on Zoom or broadcasted on MCPS TV. If you're interested in joining, we have the Google form. We can email that out perhaps as well, if you're interested in coming. And then, did you?
Yeah, and really quickly, if you do want to attend the town hall, we I guess encourage that you do attend in person, because I mean that kind of just immerses you in the full discussion.
Yeah, and we're also planning to give out SSL hours, so if you're running low on that, you should definitely consider coming. And then in terms of like other plans that we have, we just put out the graphic that Cindy made for our art sustainability competition, and it encompasses 3 categories. I'll encourage the ambassadors here to apply as well. It's a really great award if you're looking for college applications or just in general to show off your passion for environmental sustainability. And the 3 categories we have is the videography or PSA, and you can work on that in teams of 1 to 5, so you can also work individually. And then we have an essay contest, and our 3rd one is a drawing contest. So we have 3 different categories, and you have great opportunities to win. I think we could also send an email about that out perhaps as well. And I think that would be a great opportunity for everyone here wanting to be more engaged with the SCAC. And then in terms of other events we have, so I know earlier we talked about planning a member social, and to be honest, we haven't really focused too much on that. We've been planning the town hall and then the art sustainability contest. And again, I think the due date on this contest would be sometime in March, like I think a little less than a month from now. And in terms of the member social, we really want to get that done at Rio, but we don't know how plausible that is, considering we don't really have a budget. But I know Megan also talked about hosting it in person at a hiking or some other outdoor facility, and I think that would be a really great way for both ambassadors and council members to be engaged with each other and further with SCAC.
Really quickly, I feel like the members social, if anything, I think we can put that a little bit lower on the priorities, kind of, because I mean we do have a bunch of other events that you guys are handling, and I think that I think our council members, we're pretty, I guess like well acquainted with one another.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe we could just like push that to like after everything, but I'm wondering how that would work with like AP season April.
Can I suggest that maybe we move our member social back to June, and then it can be like we can introduce our new council members as well, and like it can be like a sort of an event where we start to tell them a little bit like about the experience of a council member as well as just like being a social event.
Yeah, definitely. And then Kim and I are also meeting again tomorrow to talk a little bit more about ambassador plans, what other events we can do. I think we really wanted to focus on a really like overarching event as well, something that we can pursue like consistently throughout the year. As we plan more on that, we'll update you, but we really, just a long-term event is really our goal in meeting tomorrow.
In terms of contest, and I want to add that MCPS is also holding a Be a Zero Hero contest, which the deadline is February 16th, so it's pretty soon, but all participating students who submit a video about raising awareness to reduce, reuse, and recycle will receive 10 SSL hours. The video should be about a minute to a minute and a half, and keep in mind that there are separate divisions for middle school, high school, and those beyond high school, so if you're worried about your competition, just know that it is age-based.
I have a question about the town hall. So I know that we have Dr. Taylor who's going to come as a guest speaker. Do we have anyone else in mind?
Yeah, so we wanted to contact some local organizations. I know Peter Boyko, he is one of the co-founders for EcoMoco. Yeah, so we're thinking about contacting different organizations based in Montgomery County, student-led, to kind of see if they want to share any information about how our attendees at the town hall can get involved with sustainability and just more youth-led initiatives as well. But if anyone has any other ideas on who we can invite or in general anything they want to add on, feel free to share out loud.
Well, we have lots of great people here tonight. Ms. Snyder, Mr. Trautman, Mr. Derby. If any of you would be interested in attending, I'm sure we'd be happy to have you. Yes? Okay, so you guys should connect afterwards and see about that.
I can send an email.
I also wanted to add, do we want to invite the SMOB to maybe talk a few words? I think that will also get a lot of students to come as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's a great idea. I can also send him an email as well, or maybe like talk in person. I don't know.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so the next category we have is grants. I know that we've talked a lot, or at least a little bit, about our budget today already. So I think the update on budget testimony or things we can do to further funding are not necessarily relevant. I guess what I was going to ask is, Mr. Derby, you had mentioned the possibility of us getting funding from like an external organization in the scenario that the funding, that MCPS can't fund us for next year. So do you have like, what would that look like? Like, is there a deadline for an application? Is it something where it would go through MCPS and you guys would apply for a grant for us, or how would that work? And can you come here so the people online can hear as well? Thank you.
So I didn't have too many specific ideas in mind. At that time, I subscribed to a lot of different newsletters from Chesapeake Bay Trust, from other organizations, some of which share funding opportunities all the time, some of which are applicable and some which are not. And I also am acquainted with a private foundation that funds climate-related and environmentally related projects across the state of Maryland, who I ran into their president recently, and they expressed they're very interested in the YCI, but I think they might also be supportive of the council as well. So I guess once we hear from Dr. Taylor or his designee about whether or not MCPS can find that money, carve that money out somehow, even though it wasn't included as a line item, then, or even before then, I can start looking into some of those other possibilities and pass those on. And either it might be a staff member applying, or I imagine some of them would be student-driven as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll see whether MCPS funding pans out, and if not, we'll definitely reach out to you to consider that possibility. Okay, Quinley, is there anything else you wanted to add about grants updates?
Sure. So I was really encouraged to hear that Dr. Taylor is willing to work with us to find that. So we did deliver it to the board office at 15 West Good on, I believe that on the 31st of January. I guess he didn't receive it until the 5th. But yeah, and like Mr. Derby was saying, we were looking a couple weeks ago, the grants team, at kind of some other opportunities that we could potentially look into. I think Ms. Stewart mentioned at a previous meeting that Education Foundation is one option, so we could look into that. And then there's some other grants in theory at the state level perhaps. So I think there's some options that we can look into in the case that we need to look for other options.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Moving on to the ambassador committee. Do we have new applications, and when can our next onboarding meeting be?
So the old application has been opened up again for new applicants to come on. I believe that I should partner with Cindy, I always say Cindy in comms, just so that we can reach out to people and make sure that they're aware that applications are open again. At this point, I think it is more beneficial to have new members just join in on a work session and give them a brief onboarding to get straight to work rather than take separate time to hold an onboarding session. And that seems to be about it.
Okay, and then really quickly, since we have a lot of ambassadors here, do we have feedback on our ambassador program from you guys? What can we do better? I'm sure there are things. Yeah, we can definitely do that. That's a good point. Thank you. Is there anything else? No?
Can I ask, where do you guys get like majority of the information from? Like social media, Slack, email, what works best? Emails. Okay, great.
Are you guys happy with that current arrangement, or would you prefer to receive information through social media as well or the Slack?
I'm fine with email, but if others prefer social media.
No, email works best.
Thank you for your feedback.
Okay, so now I think we'll move on to a discussion of next year's council. So we had a virtual meeting about 2 weeks ago, and we discussed several items. It wasn't an official group meeting, and I don't think we had a majority of people. So we thought it would be beneficial to revisit some of those items. Also, we weren't all there. So we thought it would be beneficial to revisit some of those things and vote on them as a council so that we can have a resolution. If there's not a majority here, there's a few online. 14? Oh, okay, and that's plenty. Okay, so the first thing that we went over at the virtual meeting was the alternate system. Is anyone not aware of what that is still? And no problem, I can explain it. Okay, sure. So the alternate system is an idea that we came up with last year that wasn't implemented this year. Basically, it's just that for the different regions and then for at-large as well, we would have the next highest placing candidate be selected and emailed or contacted to make them aware of this, but they would be selected as an alternate council member. And what that means is that if a council member is failing to meet their duties or failing to attend meetings and do work outside of the meetings, then we would remove them, which is still a process that we have right now, but it would just be like this added step of adding another council member back. And so it would sort of provide more of an incentive or accountability to our council members because there is another person who's willing to fill that spot. And the requirement for that alternate council member would be that they would be willing to be an active ambassador so that they knew what was going on. And if the time came for them to switch in to be a council member, they would not have as much to catch up on. I think, is there anything I'm forgetting about the system? No? Okay. Does anyone have thoughts on this? Whether we want to implement it? Is it a good idea? Yes? Okay. Anyone online have anything to say, or should we take a vote? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor of an alternate system for next year's council? I think,
That's majority.
Awesome, that's a majority. Okay, great to hear. Let me just note that. Okay, and then this was maybe something that we'd have to discuss a little bit more, but the other thing that we thought of, at last meeting, we were discussing the number of council members to have, and what we decided, we had 14 council members last year, that was only 2 at large, 2 per region for 6 regions, right? And then this year we have 18, which is 6 at-large council members. And so what we decided was, since 14 seemed like too little, 18 seems like maybe a bit too many for us to function most efficiently, we suggested having 16 council members, 12 per area, and then 4 at-large council members. And while we were originally considering, if we are going to have at-large council members, they should have a distinct task, right, or a distinct, description of the position. And so we didn't really have that this year. And what we would like to do with that is, instead of assigning schools to those at-large council members, they would really be at-large and not focused on any particular area or any particular schools. And that way they would be able to engage in like our committee work, our policy work, and other like, you know, outreach. I mean, maybe not specific outreach to the schools, but countywide outreach more thoroughly. So this was the suggestion we had. It would require that each person reach out to 18 schools, but as we've seen this year, not every school actually responds, not every school actually needs the support. So that was the argument, or this was like the discussion we had virtually about, you know, 18 schools might sound like a lot, but more likely it'll be like about 10 maybe at most that will actually respond, and they'll end up working with the council members. So what do you guys think about this system?
I think the biggest concern is how we identify an at-large member versus representing an area. Would it be, for example, on the application, you are applying, I want to represent my area, or versus like, I want to be at-large?
So I can just answer this with my thoughts. This is not like an official answer by any means. So what we did in the current council, how we chose at-large members was, it was mostly just members who were very, very close to being in the top 2 for their area. So what I would suggest is that you then take those members, the next highest scoring members who were not chosen for the like top 4 highest scoring areas, right? And you ask like all 3 people who were selected for that area, which one of you would like to be at large? And that way, those 3 people have a choice in who ends up representing the area and who stays at large, without creating this like much larger pool of applicants for at large, where it then becomes like a very competitive position, and we potentially lose out on area council members. Does that make sense? What do you guys think about that?
Would you maybe potentially just want to have it so that like there's 2 slots per area, and then as they fill up, like the next ranking highest people just automatically become at large? That way, like ambassador and at large is the same, or do you think like surveying at large could be an extra step? Do you think that like extra step is necessary and we should?
Sorry, ambassador and at large is the same?
Oh goodness.
No, it's okay.
Like alternate. So it's like the same
Alternate.
system for alternate and at large. You know, it's just like the next ranking highest.
It could be the next ranking. The only concern is, as Tima was suggesting, like these people then don't have a choice in who becomes at large and who doesn't. So it would simply be just like then take those 3 people and say which one of you wants to be at large.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. That's like just a suggestion I had. But like overall, does this 16-member system make sense? Do you guys agree that 18 is a little bit too many? Yes? Okay. Okay. Anyone else have anything to add, or should we take a vote on this as well? No? Okay.
To be clear, at the moment, we are voting on 16 members rather than the exact system of like delegating the...
Sure, but I think it would also include 16 members, including 12 area and 4 at large, regardless of how we delegate who's at large.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, that's fine. We can work out the details later. That's totally fine. Okay. Let's put it up to a vote. All in favor of the 16-member system with 12 area and 4 at-large council members? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? Who? I think. Wait, how many are here?
We have 11 people here.
Uh-oh. Wait, no, sorry. I don't know why I was thinking that way. Yes, 12 is a majority. We don't need, like, anything more than a simple majority. Okay, so this is fine. And then the other system, sorry, I'm talking a lot. We'll get through this, and then we'll have a chance to discuss some other stuff from our previous discussion. That was not descriptive. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. Okay, so let's talk about incumbency. So this year, incumbency was a little bit of an issue because it wasn't really like considered by the interviewers. And so what ended up happening was very few incumbent council members were accepted into areas. So the rest were just taken as at-large council members, which was a decision so that we didn't have only two remaining council members. And I think the issue behind this was that the interviewers were like, we as council members were a little busy last year with the SCAC, so we weren't necessarily doing other sustainability initiatives. So incumbency almost seemed like it could have been detracting from those people's applications, or at least that's what I observed, right? So in order to fix that, what we were discussing was we want incumbency to be a positive in an application insofar as that person was engaged in the council. And we thought the best way to do that would be to have the seniors, all 8? 6, okay, sorry. All 6 of them come together in a meeting. 7, okay. We have a lot of seniors this year. We should have all of them come together in a meeting and determine which, like, have a sort of like a review process or recommendation process where they write about how the council member did and how, like, whether they would recommend them to be accepted onto the following year's council and why or why not, and like their skills and how hardworking they were. So this was just like sort of so that the interviewers could get that background information about the council members that they wouldn't have, and so that if you were an engaged council member, it would count for you pretty strongly in an application. What do you guys think about that?
I feel like also just another thing we could consider is just having another question on the Google form, like, are you an incumbent? And then having an additional question after that, what did you accomplish during your time at SCAC, and things like that.
Would you say that would be like instead of or in addition to?
I'm okay with either. Like, it could be in addition to. I think in addition to would be preferable, just because I don't know if the seniors. Sorry, I don't want to be like Target.
That's okay.
But I was just like, I want to make sure like the applications are really comprehensive. So I feel like if we have like a personal, anecdotal component of it, and then also having like an outside of perspective, maybe that would be like really good in combination, you know, to get like the full picture.
So I think that's a good idea, but I think one thing is that the application process for the past 2 years has been like relatively standardized in the sense that everyone's like been getting the same questions in the application and in the interview. So I don't know how that would specifically like fly over with the people who do conduct the interviews.
But I think that's okay. I mean, we've only been doing this for 2 years. I think we can change, and this would be a change already. It would be something additional in the application. So I agree. I think that's a great idea. I think we could also have that for ambassadors, right? Were you an ambassador last year, and what did you accomplish, right? What do you guys think? And then because the ambassadors also would not have, like, the seniors probably reviewing them because they wouldn't work with everyone individually. So does that sound good to you guys? Okay.
Can I ask?
Yes, of course.
Would incumbency make it kind of biased, or?
Well, I mean, the reality is that, like, it's good to have some continuity, in my opinion. So I don't think we should be accepting everyone just because they were incumbent, and that's why I think the senior review process would be really helpful, because if a person was not engaging with the council, then their incumbency could even potentially count against them, right? Yeah. So, like, it would be an advantage if you were working hard, but I don't think that's a problem.
Absolutely makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this, or should we vote? I know it's more of an informal thing, but I still think we should vote to, like, adopt this system.
We're voting for both systems or like one or the other?
We can do it 2 separately. Okay. Okay, so first, let's vote on the senior review process for incumbent members, where seniors should create a, what would you call it? Like, review or recommendation letter, evaluation of incumbent council members who are planning to reapply. All in favor? Okay, that is a majority. And then an incumbency question within the application for both council members and ambassadors, although we can specify were you a council member or an ambassador. All in favor? Do we need more discussion on this? No? Okay. I think that was a majority too. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we will go ahead with those. Obviously, like, we can bring these items up if anyone, like, has strong concerns about them in the future.
Yeah, and I think that we should probably add these to the bylaws later.
Yes, we can do that. We can add them to the bylaws and send them out for you guys to review, but it'll basically just be what we just talked about, so it shouldn't be, like, we won't be changing anything significant besides that. Okay, so we do have about 10 minutes left before we need to start closing out the meeting. So unless anyone has any suggestions for what to do with the extra time, I was going to suggest that we go back and talk about something that Dr. Taylor mentioned, which was that we should be including our own initiatives in the climate change action plan. It's something we hadn't really considered. I don't think it's something that PG County really did. They were more talking about the county as a whole, but I think it's a great idea to incorporate like ourselves into this plan that we're going to be instrumental in creating. But I'm wondering what initiatives those would be. I mean, certainly we can talk about grants, right? And asking for funding and having that be part of our recommendations in the climate action plan. But what other initiatives do you guys think would be good for us to add, like as a council, to that plan?
So in terms of the climate action plan, I don't know if this is like a plug-in, but my climate club at my school is doing low-flow faucet aerator installations around Montgomery County. We recently met with Charles County to discuss implementing it there. So, and then I can give you some stats, but at our school specifically, it saved over 300,000 gallons of water per year and $2,000 annually. So I think having this like in a concrete plan could be really beneficial if we can do this like county-wide, or even we're really trying to pursue this statewide as well, but I think having the SCAC involved in this initiative could be really beneficial in spreading it around schools within Montgomery County.
I don't think that like the SCAC did it, but I know that MCPS piloted recycling AP test exam booklets and what was it, the wrapping. So I think, what's right?
I just said interesting.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking a question. I think it would be interesting, especially in high schools, if we like were able to put like large volume or large scale recycling operations such as this, because I feel like as something as such a blanket experience as some of these exams, it would be beneficial if we were able to implement them on such a noticeable and like seemingly doable. I know my high school was able to implement it pretty easily. So if we can normalize efforts like this, I think it would be good to like slowly integrate them into the CCP.
Yes, I can touch on that further. Currently, with that operation, we are looking for students with at least one teacher sponsor at each school to implement it's not just for AP test booking, it's for all plastic film. So if, once again, anybody is interested in their school and has at least one teacher that they can work with, and if you reach out to me, that's definitely something we can work towards.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, like, those were two really good ideas. And to plug in, like, the ambassador thing, do we think it's a good idea to put, like, a flyer or maybe some, like, kind of announcement saying, hey, this is going on. Are you guys interested? Or, like, just to get the ambassadors involved as well, because that's the first time I'm hearing the water thing, and I think it's really cool. So I think a lot of ambassadors would be really, I think, excited to be involved in that.
Yeah, definitely send out that information in the Slack. Ms. Snyder?
Really quick, I want to say, if you can send me the information, I can make a flyer, and I can send that to the ambassadors and post it.
I think, to these examples, maybe thinking a little big picture to make space for these very specific examples. One thing that isn't in the Prince George's plan is this like really, I think it's happening, but it wasn't articulated, is integration of the student action and making space for projects like this that come up, and really putting effort towards all these integrated set groups needing to work at the student level. And so I would say that would be a more general way to integrate yourselves, as opposed to, you could use these as examples of things that are working, but then that leaves you open for whatever comes up for future groups, that like it's expected that you're working with student groups to make these things happen. And then the other I'd add is, you guys were talking a lot about green internships and jobs, and that isn't as fleshed out right now, but I think is coming. And so I think that would be another area maybe we want to look to add, because that sounds like that's very much something students are wanting for summer internships and things too.
Okay, yeah, I think that's great. So we would just include in the plan like a recommendation that the school board be working closely with student groups. Yeah, and I agree. I don't think that was something that was articulated as well in the PG County plan. Do we have any other suggestions from council members?
Just one more quick comment, but we did receive a grant for our low-flow faucet aerator project. So we have like $1,000 worth of faucet aerators, and we just need to find schools to install them in. So if you're interested, please let me know, and we can definitely get that done. And if you're an ambassador, you could probably be like a project lead at your school to this project, and I think that would be a really great opportunity if you're interested.
I don't know if it's possible. you would probably have to coordinate with Gowrie on this, but you might be able to do like a workshop too on like low flow implementation or how to get this passed in your school. I feel like that might be a good way to like connect the two and get that rolling.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Wait, to build on that, do you guys think we should have like all multiple projects, like the film thing and then the water thing, like all like in one day, or should it just be like just focused on one, like, I don't know.
I think one thing because they're each very like unique.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, if we have no more council member ideas for initiatives that we can include in the climate change action plan, or at least like anything else we would want to add to the framework, do we have any suggestions from our ambassadors? Zoe?
I have noticed that Dr. Taylor had. Which one?
Okay. Dr. Taylor had mentioned a few different things, and one of them was really interesting to me. Implementing like climate programs in new high schools. I think we could definitely talk just a little bit briefly about an outline draft. I know that that isn't going to get done for a few years, but just having something in there for future council members and ambassadors to be able to like go back and say, no, we've always wanted this to happen, would be really beneficial for like the long run.
Okay, awesome. Anyone else? Okay, I think can we close out a little early? Okay, awesome. So our next meeting in person will be on Monday, March 10th from 5 to 8 p.m. Again, we'll have our ambassadors section from 5 to 6 p.m. and then the general meeting here from 6 to 8 p.m. It will not be broadcasted. Our meeting the following month in April will be broadcasted. And then in between, we'll have virtual office hours on Monday, February 24th from 7 to 8 p.m. for our ambassadors, and then we'll have an additional 8 to 9 p.m. for council members as well. But of course, council members, please attend the 7 to 8 p.m. so that we can engage ambassadors. We also have, between now and our next in-person meeting, we also have a town hall on March 3rd at Carver, as we've been talking about during this meeting. So hopefully as many of you as possible can attend. What time is that at?
6 to 8 p.m.
Okay, yeah. So similar to these meetings, I guess. Yeah, so I think that's all for today, but thank you all so much for coming, and we'll see you at our next meeting.